This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody, guys and girls? Welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I'm one of the hosts of the show, Michael Ritter. You can find me on Twitter, Michael5Ritter, and also one of the hosts of the Football Function Podcast, available on all of your podcasting platforms, including on Patreon. Joining me on today's episode, per usual, my humble co-host, young Jonathan Carrasco. John, how we doing, bud?
Oh, man, I am chilling. I'm freaking excited to break down this episode of SmackDown already, you know, crazy stuff happening and everything like that. But other than that, man, I mean, I'm good. Good day at work, I guess you could say, you know, kind of cut out a little bit early. Got the hair braided and everything like that. So, I mean, it's definitely been a jam-packed little day, I guess you could say. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and break this down.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This has been a wild SmackDown. It's about an hour and a half in, so just right there around 30 minutes left of this show. And the way that it started,
oh yeah,
we'll get into it, but holy cannoli.
It was wild.
Blew me away, but nonetheless, this SmackDown that we're going to be talking about aired on July 7th, 7/7. 2023 from New York City, Madison Square Garden. Shout out to DJ Kuzmo for the location breakdown. So, we really don't have to waste any time getting into this, because this was a juicy way to start the show, and let's go ahead and just get into it. The Usos opened the show after a video package highlighting their win at Money in the Bank against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. They brag about being the first ones to pin Roman Reigns, despite everybody in the entire world saying that it could never and would never be done. Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa come out. They really don't say a whole lot. The Usos pretty much tell Paul to shut up right away, and he tells them that only one person in WWE can tell him that. And then Solo strangely puts his hand over Heyman's mic. He takes it from him and then walks to the other side of the ring. Throws it outside of the ring. Thought that was kind of weird. Whatever. Nonetheless, it all gets explained right there because Roman Reigns' music hits. He comes out, tells Madison Square Garden to acknowledge him as they chant, quote unquote, "You got pinned," which was very evident, very clear. They were all in sync, in unison together, chanting that. I thought it was nice. He accepts that he got pinned, however, but he does remind us all that the last time he checked, he's still the tribal chief, which triggers the crowd to loudly chant a tribal chief chant. I think that was even louder than the "You got pinned" chant, but I could be mistaken there. Roman Reigns then tells both Usos that while they're chanting the tribal chief, that the crowd isn't chanting that for them. Specifically says they're not chanting it for you, looks at Jimmy, and says they're definitely not, and they're not chanting it for you either, Jay, but then he says not yet, which I thought was kind of strange. Nonetheless, they play a video package. The Usos actually say, well, check out this video package right here. And that is, the video package itself is pretty much like a couple-minute video showing how big of an a-hole Roman Reigns really is. The crowd then starts chanting a "You effed up" chant, which was pretty hilarious, just to kind of comment on here and that. He rhetorically asks if he thinks, or if they think that Roman Reigns wants to do this, right? Because he's commenting on the video. He's like, man, you guys, like, really? Do you think that I want to do this? And then he pretty much, if I can find my notes.
I was going to say.
What's up?
Just to get into that, I do like how he, like, presented this, I guess you could say. Like, the way that, you know, like, making it seem like he doesn't want it to be a part of this. It's part of that little manipulative little trigger that he gets, you know, something to just point out, I guess you could say.
100%.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because, I mean, he asked him rhetorically, do you think that I wanted to do that? He claims that he, quote unquote, did it for them. And he reminds us all that he was in WrestleMania, and he was the WrestleMania main event long before the Bloodline. And he does all of this to elevate his family. And how do they repay him? By making a compilation of his worst moments to paint a bad picture for the tribal chief. Just doesn't really sit right with him. He goes on to take personal shots about essentially having to take care of his kids and Jay's. I don't really know where that was. Seemed a little bit of a line crossing there. Not really, it's not my place to comment, but nonetheless.
Well, I say that was a little harsh, and I kind of think it like him just being at the spot that he is. It's like he was taking care of him on the way up.
Putting him up, 100%. Let's see here. Roman then says that he doesn't want or need the money or the fame. And then says, I'm done, which caught me off guard. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is going on here? Had me for a little bit. I was a little bit thrown off. But Roman, after that, he takes the Ula Fala off, which we had to research to figure out exactly what that thing was called.
Respect.
Didn't want to give it the wrong name, especially because it was very prominently featured in this segment. So Roman Reigns takes the Ula Fala off, puts it on Jay, then throws his title on the ground, gets on his knees, and sheds a real tear, which is a little bit, thespian.
He worked there. He worked that.
100%. He earned it. I'll tell you that. And right as Jey Uso begins to show some sympathy, almost said sympathy, but right as he's beginning to show some sympathy, almost did it again. He slightly kneels over, and Roman Reigns gives him a good old-fashioned low blow. One for the ages, I will say. Jimmy Uso then attacks Roman Reigns and is really getting the better of him. I will say before Solo steps in, obviously, and then throws him off. Then hits him with a Samoan spike. A little bit of a side twist here. Solo was very hesitant to hand over that Ula Fala to Roman Reigns.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, he never did hand it to him because they were attacked. Jey Uso attacks him right there from behind. That attack really does not last very long. However, soon they take that brawl outside of the ring where Jay gets tied up in the ropes and he's forced to watch Roman as he continues to beat the hell out of Jimmy. Even gets several headshots in with the championship belt, which I will say, just the 4th of July. Happy late 4th of July, everybody. I will say, if you are an American, I know that there's a lot of listeners who aren't Americans who probably, the 4th of July is just a regular day for them. It's a pretty big deal over here in the States. So if you celebrated 4th of July, whether, you just cooked out with your friends, which is what we did, or you actually went out and popped fireworks and, celebrated another way, as long as you did it safely and you have all of your phalanges, all your fingers are still there, you're good to go. But nonetheless, on the 4th of July, we threw on an old school Raw to watch to do it. And we watched a Raw from June 2003. And it was one of the episodes it was the episode, which they highlighted here, coincidentally, in Madison Square Garden.
Crazy.
That Kane took off his mask, which is a very good episode of Raw. Obviously, if they go to MSG, you know that they're going to bring their A game. It's always been the case, even dating back over at this point 20 years ago. 2003, it's 2023.
Yeah.
Wild to think about. But yeah, it was a great episode of Raw. I remember watching it to this day. It blew my freaking mind. But let me see here. What exactly got me even talking about that? Oh, yeah, the championship belt. Because while we were watching that episode of Raw, there was a point in that show where somebody got hit in the head with a belt. And I said that night, or right there, I said, man, they don't do that enough. I would really like to see that brought back. It's not a chair shot to the head. You could easily hit or fake that you hit somebody in the head with a belt and it be safe, because I'm not going to lie, I did it a lot growing up. We had the championship belts, and as we'd wrestle on my trampoline, every now and then somebody would get hit in the head with, a championship belt, and you could do it safely and still sell it, make it look good. But it was nice, and it was a little bit of a coincidence to see Roman Reigns actually pull that out. He didn't just hit him once with that belt. He beat the hell out of him when he was laying on the ground there, and also got several shots in with the steel steps, forcing Jey Uso to watch. A very brutal sight to see there. Jay does eventually get free, but right after that, he probably wishes he would have stayed, tied up there, because he gets a Samoan spike, falls pretty brutally onto the steps, gets it right there on the corner after getting that spike in the throat. It's rough.
Like he got up at the wrong time every time.
Yes, 100%. Starting with that low blow. Just a rough night for both Usos, but man, it's tough to say which one you'd rather be. I wouldn't want to be either of them right now. But right after that, he gets thrown over the announce table, buried with cherries. Yeah, I'm not even gonna stop anything.
Right there?
Buried with cherries. Okay, it's a lot of damn cherries. Number one. Number two, he was actually buried with chairs.
There you go.
The announced chairs. Those big son of a guns.
That was funny,
But
though.
I will say, it's dinner time, man. I'm freaking hungry right now. We can smell the food obviously cooking and. Just a little behind the curtain here. Yeah, I'm freaking wouldn't mind having a cherry or two right now. But continuing on here.
I was going to mention a little something about that second chair that Roman threw onto Jay.
Yes.
Dude, that looked kind of
Did it hit him in the head or something?
It looked like it hit him
I agree.
Up there in that
I noticed
top
one of those
range the
shots.
body, yeah.
Wasn't sure if it was the first, second, or however many that he got thrown on him, but I did notice that one of them looked like was a little rough there. Let me see here before I butcher that. Oh, yeah. After he gets buried with the chairs, Jimmy gets put on to the table where, of course, we get would you call that a solo splash? Because we get the Uso splash. Is that a solo splash or is it an Uso splash too? Because he just does his family's move. I don't know. We'll look into it. We'll workshop it. See if it works there. But let's see here. Yeah, he goes through the table. Paul Heyman does put the Ulafala back on Roman Reigns. And then the segment goes to a commercial break. When they come back from commercial break, we get the visual of Jimmy Uso being stretchered to an ambulance. Rey Mysterio there, a lot of talent there as well. What'd you think about this 36-minute segment to start the show? This is a main event. How many SmackDowns do we see when Roman Reigns shows up? And this is how it ends,
Yeah.
I was completely shocked to see that this is how they started the show. It was a 36-minute segment, man. Without a doubt, the longest in my 143 weeks here on the SmackDown review. But what are your thoughts, man? I'll give it to you. Dissect it how you please.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a lot from the beginning to end, I guess you could say. But, yeah, definitely, I think that it was, worthy of having this beginning of the spot because it gave us that feeling to where, we needed to find out what was going on, I guess you could say. Tribal Court, Tribal Chief is on Tribal Court, I guess you could say. And I don't know, man. It just felt like it was well needed to be at the beginning, I guess you could say. Of course, right now we're kind of going through stuff and it feels like matches are kind of flying by, 3-minute matches here and there and stuff like that. But other than that, man, if it would have been at the end, I think it would have been one of those cutoffs where we wouldn't have been able to see everything, take it all in. So yeah,
we wouldn't have seen the ambulance part. It would have for sure ended at ringside as Roman gets the Ulafala placed back on him. That's how the show would have went off.
So yeah, that's the only time or kind of thing that I'm thinking positive on that part is that we got the full segment rather than getting it cut off. But other than that, man, yeah, the acting is freaking phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal. These dudes are doing, Emmy stuff right here, I guess you could say, it's just something that I want to see every week, like a regular TV show type stuff. New episode, new stuff going on.
We're watching Boy Meets World again.
See?
And we just finished season 5, and man, they're getting us some juicy storylines. Before this season, storylines really didn't string together. It was all standalone episodes where you could watch them out of order and it really didn't matter, which is how majority of people consumed Boy Meets World over the years, whether it was on ABC in the 90s or in the 2000s whenever it had its second run on Disney Channel. Most people kind of, they watch them out of order, and the episodes as the series goes on, it starts to get a little bit more deep storytelling where episodes string together through multiple episodes. And that's kind of what you see here with this is the storytelling is just, it's so deep.
It's perfect, bro.
There's multiple plot twists.
Yep. And then, like you said, there's many ways for this to go. I mean, I want to say I've mentioned this to you before that Solo was going to be the one that would turn on Roman. And I kind of feel like it's starting to go that way, because like you're saying, he didn't give him the Ulafala back.
Yeah,
like you said, he
never officially did, and that was a very long. Not to cut you off, but it was an extremely long little stare down that they had
from not even that, just like the whole stare down from whenever it was on the floor.
When it was on the mat,
walked up to it. It took him a good second to even bend over and grab it off the floor. Held it in his hand, and you could see in Roman's face in the corner whenever he was sitting there that, oh yeah, there's something going on right here, So he stood up, gave him a little face and everything, and eventually just kind of got interrupted by Jay. So, I mean.
Solo's intrusive thoughts were winning there.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. He wanted to do something there, but it was just some great stuff, man. I will say just the multiple plot twists throughout the entire thing. The fact that it was able to take up nearly
Oh, you're at 40. 36.
Yeah, because that video package that they showed, that a video package during the segment, that was just insane. I'm sure that people there in attendance, it felt weird. Like, I'm sure that if you were there in attendance, you're like, holy, we're still on this one segment. What time is it? Looking down at your phone, because you know how it is. It's one thing when we're here at home. You know, being there, it's so much different. And this was just a wild way to start the show. But man, I'll tell you, they blew us. They blew me away. I wonder if there was some competition that they were competing with at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, that they wanted to get the viewers early. You know, or like we said, maybe Roman has a flight. I don't really know what the deal is. But nonetheless, it was a great way to start the show. Up next, we get Theory versus Sheamus for the U.S. title. Pretty Deadly comes out to throw things off a little bit. The Brutes follow shortly after to even things up. But Theory steals this win with a pretty weak-ass roll-up, I will say.
Man, that was disappointing.
Like, to be completely honest, if I were a fruit roll-up, I would be very ashamed to be associated with that roll-up that I just saw there on TV. To beat Sheamus, I was hoping Sheamus would steal it. It's Madison Square Garden. We don't get these SmackDowns very often. I know that the opening segment blew us away. I assumed that there was going to be something through the show in the ring that kind of did something similar. Obviously, we get Edge returning, which is beautiful. Mm-hmm. You'll always love seeing Edge wrestle, possibly his last time at Madison Square Garden. Who knows? But I don't know. I just thought that Sheamus, I was hoping Sheamus would get that win. I really wanted him to. The Austin Theory project, or I guess the development plan post-WrestleMania has not worked out really. In fact, if you go back and listen to John Cena's promo that he cut in Austin Theory's face and listen to what he said leading up to WrestleMania about how, yeah, you don't want to fight me at WrestleMania because if you win, you're screwed. Because then you got to come out and, you know, go on your own. If you lose, you're screwed because then you're buried, you know? Yeah. So it's one of those things. If you go back and listen to it, I'm not doing it nearly the justice that it deserves. But long story short, he was spot on with Austin Theory. And he pretty much called the following, you know, events of their WrestleMania feud. His U.S. title really isn't doing anything for me, especially in comparison to the other mid-card title, which is the Intercontinental title that we tragically lost in the WWE draft to Monday Night Raw. It's without a doubt the hardest hit I feel like we took in that draft. You know how I was feeling about Gunther. It's hard to keep up with him now being on Monday Night Raw, though I will say the Drew McIntyre thing, I'm looking forward to seeing the development of that. It's going to be interesting. We did see them feud going into Mania, but Sheamus was kind of involved, and he kind of took a back seat to that, which kind of leads me and ties me back to this, where Sheamus is taking another back seat here in the U.S. title picture, and it just makes freaking sense, man. I wanted to drop a curse word there, but I'm a nice, wholesome man, so I'm not going to. But nonetheless, Sheamus deserved to get that win. Screw Theory. Hopefully, you know, they're setting up something for him to get that title off of him, because it's just not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, he's having a long stint, a long reign as the champion, and it's not really, you know, memorable whatsoever. And, you know, I'm pretty much just out on it. But, you know, what are your thoughts on Sheamus losing via a roll-up?
Well, the roll-up was definitely disappointing to the whole match. I felt like they were going at it both, you know, good match up until that little point. I saw a little situation about to happen, and, you know, you kind of just, you even called it, you know, and we're just kind of, oh, yeah, this is out the window, I guess you could say. Yeah. But, man, the only thing I can say is Austin Theory doesn't get no pop from the crowd. So that's my only thing about it, I guess you could say. I mean, he's good in the ring and everything, but, yeah, I just can't get behind it if there's no feeling to it, I guess you could say. You know, I got to have some type of emotion. I don't feel like Theory has given us too much of, like, a personality.
There's no substance.
Yeah, there you go. See, so, I mean, we went from, like, the little phone thing to now he's like a grown man type deal. So it's kind of just like it's hard to get with, I guess you could say.
Yes.
So, I mean, other than that, man, I mean, yeah, Sheamus, I mean, kind of sucks that he's going through these little situations and stuff like that. But, I mean, he's keeping his name relevant, you know, contending in championships still. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's doing all right in his little spot, I guess you could say.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's see here, continuing on, as we just saw a beautiful ending to a match, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We get the Grayson Waller effect with Edge. Edge comes out. Grayson Waller interrupts him as he's making his opening statements addressing the crowd. Waller asks him why he's still in WWE, and he says it's pretty simple, because of the fans. And he points to him, obviously, and says, them. He takes a trip down memory lane, pointing out that his first PLE was actually at Madison Square Garden, SummerSlam 98, and he starts referencing specific moments where he entered, who he was teamed with, who he was going up against. He actually teamed with Sable, by the way. I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. Waller throws out some nonsense saying that Edge is retiring and that this is going to be his last appearance at Madison Square Garden. Edge clears that BS up by not only saying it's not true, but in fact, he spoke with the quote-unquote powers that be, and he got a match booked tonight against none other than the person he's currently sharing the ring with, Grayson Waller. And that kind of leads us into a match we'll have a little bit later. A match that we get right now was AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross with Scarlett and Michin both at ringside. They cause a little bit of interference, but AJ ends up getting the win with a phenomenal forearm. What do you think about that AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross match and finish?
Well, that one was kind of weird to me. We came in from a commercial, and, they were already in the ring. No entrance or anything from either one of them. So it was kind of one of those matches that I had mentioned before, the little quick. That was a 3-minute match. I saw that one for sure, from 8:13 to 8:16, I believe it was. But, yeah, definitely didn't really do too much for me. I know they had their little situation going on and stuff, but I don't know, man. I'm just not getting like the connection I was before with Karrion Kross. It kind of feels like they're kind of just like not playing into his like little game, like the little video packages that he would put out more, him and Scarlett and stuff
with like the cards and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean they did it, but it's just not like they're doing it as much anymore, like how they were,
Yeah.
There was always some type of creepy little scene or something that we would get before, and now it's kind of just feel like it's kind of just dying off. So the Karrion Kross thing is kind of sucks. But that kick from Michin to Scarlett in the head, dude, that was wild. That literally looked like it hurt, honestly. But other than that, man, match, it was all right, but short. That's the only thing I could say.
Yeah, for sure. That kick, you mentioned it. Good point. And one of the few highlights in that match. Let's see, though. I'm going to go ahead and continue on here, if I may. Where the hell are we at? Oh, yeah. Asuka comes out, and once again, as she usually does, claims that nobody is ready for her. Out comes Bianca, followed by Charlotte. Then the brawl ensues. But it gets real spicy when Io Sky and Bayley come out. They try to cash in. They tease it a little bit, but Bianca and Charlotte pretty much wiped them out before it's made official. Michael Cole does remind us and clarify that she did not, in fact, cash in, so we're getting those teases leading up to her inevitably cashing in at some point. But there's absolute chaos surrounding the WWE Women's Championship picture right now when you just think about what we saw. What we've been seeing for the past few weeks with who's the number one contender, right? We got Asuka. We got Bianca Belair, and I might have just answered my own question whenever I look at that right now, just what was just announced, Bianca Belair versus Asuka next week for the WWE Women's Championship. But when you look at everything else, as far as the Money in the Bank winner and Charlotte and just the chaos surrounding the two actual number one contenders, who really knows what's going to actually happen? But what'd you think about the fallout from the Asuka coming out, the Money in the Bank contract getting almost cashed in, Bianca coming out, and eventually, obviously, her championship match being announced for next week on SmackDown, another banger likely going to happen. But what are your thoughts on the WWE Women's Championship picture?
Well, it's definitely a cluster. I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of grasp what's going on. Of course, Bianca, she wants her rematch. Of course, she's going to get it and everything. But, man, you already know there's going to be some type of involvement in that next match. It could be Charlotte, Io Sky, but other than that, man, Io Sky almost cashing it in. I didn't think it was like a good time. Too many people in the area of the match, I guess you could say, that could have interfered and stuff. And I'm still kind of confused about the Bayley and Io thing, given the fact that she like handcuffed her to Becky Lynch and went up and grabbed the the case, during that match and everything. It was definitely a good match. It was interesting.
I was confused to see why they were good on good terms.
That's why I was kind of like, what, my man? I figured you'd
We're not
kind of
gonna
be mad at each other or something.
We're not gonna get a segment with Bayley calling her out for that.
Right. That's what I was kind of thinking. There was something about to be happening there, but of course they want to do the buddy thing still, and go into a little rose plant into the case, and then the little flip that she does, Io Sky.
Little flip
Off the rope.
I'm not sure exactly.
Anyways, but the little backflip off the rope, kind of put her in a good little position. They were working good together, I guess you could say. So it was kind of weird, but other than that, man, who knows what's going to happen, like I said, next week. And that's kind of at the point where I'm at. Let's just let this kind of fall in line and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blurry picture right now. Mm-hmm. We needed to clear up a little bit. But up next, we get Edge versus Grayson Waller. This was a little bit of a lengthy match, probably the second longest segment, followed that 36-minute opening to the show. This one was right around like 15 minutes probably, and it was a pretty good match. Edge does win with a beautiful spear. Yeah. Grayson Waller did his thing in this match, I will say. Yeah. He did as well as you possibly could. Madison Square Garden against a legend like Edge. This is just an absolute moment for him. It kind of lets you know how he's viewed inside the company. To give him this type of spotlight, this type of rub from the legend like Edge, who puts him over afterwards by saying that he quote-unquote swam rather than sink. Or sank, I guess, past tense. But nonetheless, you get what I'm saying. He gets a stamp of approval from Edge, which usually bodes well for people because Edge has an eye for talent and an eye for pretty good WWE wrestlers. So what are your thoughts on Edge versus Grayson Waller, getting a chance to see Edge in ring at Madison Square Garden?
Well, just to kind of go back to the Grayson Waller effect, the way that Grayson had cut off Edge at the beginning of that little interview that they had going on, disrespectful.
That pissed you off.
And then the little comment that Edge had, you haven't even had a match on the main roster yet, so he made that yet kind of big, and then of course, went into the challenging, and like you said, the rub, quote unquote, definitely good for Grayson Waller for this to be his first match, I guess you could say. And of course, the way the crowd was behind Edge, that's definitely a good way to just kind of counter that and, get those fans to kind of go behind you. And like Edge said, he did his thing. He swam, I guess you could say. So he deserves it, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Can't be mad at it.
We had a commercial break after this match. When we get back from that match, we see backstage in the Tribal Chief's locker room, Paul Heyman go up to his ear, make the announcement that Jey Uso has returned to Madison Square Garden, and he's looking for Roman.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns says right there, hey, he won't have to look very long because the Tribal Chief is going to the ring to wait for him. Mm-hmm. Then we go to another commercial break where I'm like, oh, man, like they're really teasing us here. And I like it, though. They just let you know, hey, some juicy, what's about to go down. You don't want to miss it. Go take a piss if you have to. We need to get you back. But nonetheless, Roman Reigns goes out to the ring, tells New York City, Madison Square Garden, everybody to acknowledge him one more time. Jey Uso's music hits. They're looking for him down the ramp. Eventually, they realize, oh, crap, he's probably not coming down the ramp. He's probably coming somewhere else. Eventually, we do see him coming down the stairs, Shield style, as we've seen him do in the past as well. He goes out there, attacks Solo, gets the upper hand on him, gets a steel chair, and starts whacking both Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, taking them out pretty decisively, I guess you could say. They both get whacked pretty good in the back with chairs. And then he picks up a microphone. But more importantly, he picks up that championship.
Yeah, dude.
Which, right there, let me know, holy cannoli, we are going down this road. And he says, hey, like, look, it's like that. You took my brother from me. Like, screw it. It's not about brothers anymore. Mm-hmm. It's about you and me one-on-one. Please accept my challenge so I could whoop your ass.
Heck yeah.
And, he lays that championship down. So what do you think? SummerSlam? Are we getting Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship at SummerSlam?
I'd definitely say SummerSlam, just given the fact that, it kind of all falls in line with given the fact, that Roman started here and everything like that. So I think it'd be giving it justice, I guess you could
Poetic
say.
justice.
Let it end here. Or I wouldn't even say end, because I feel like it's just going to keep on rolling, even though. So, I'm not saying nothing. Let me just kind of backtrack, because who knows? But yeah, this is going to be a crazy one, man. I definitely think, of course, everybody's eyes is on this. A whole bunch of people just popping for Jay whenever he was holding that belt.
Oh yeah, they all stood up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be well deserving for this to happen at that time. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's just great stuff to watch. For it to start, and the end. I mean, I was kind of speaking a little too early whenever I said that. It was better at the end or at the beginning, but now for this to kind of happen here, kind of see where we're going, what direction we're in, I guess you could say, man, it was just some great stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Excuse me. So right now, just as we sit here, what do you think? I mean, do you think that Jay has a shot? I mean, it's not even been made official yet. Nothing's been announced. Just as we sit here right now at SummerSlam, because you've been advocating for this. You've been advocating for Jey Uso being the one. Well, he's up again. He's already had one chance. His name was already on that list of people that Roman Reigns has, quote-unquote, smashed during this tenure. He's got another shot. Not many people get a second shot at Roman Reigns. And this one, without a doubt, means the most. This isn't Edge. This isn't Daniel Bryan. This isn't Brock Lesnar. This isn't Kevin Owens. This is Jey Uso, who was right there in the beginning. He was tied to this. Does he have a snowball's chance in hell?
I would say probably about a good 50-50 chance. The only reason I'm saying this is because I'm going to go ahead and mention it. Solo is going to have something to do with this. I mean, of course, Jay, he's already mentioned that he doesn't want to be the tribal chief, And remember, what was it, last week? Whenever they were looking at Solo, giving him the little eye contact and stuff, kind of reference that he's going to be the one that falls in line next and stuff. You remember that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But anyways, that's what I kind of think, that Solo's the dark horse in all of this. Of course, given the fact that he did that with the Ulafala, he's definitely he has to be in this picture some way, somehow. That's what I kind of think. So yeah, Jay, it's just organic for him though. I felt like he's kind of just been off to the side, and then slowly, eventually, he's just getting up there, big name and everything. So it's kind of tough just to say that, oh, no, he's not going to do this. But then again, the way that this is going, just with the crowd, they're behind him more than anything. So there could be a change. That's what I kind of think.
There definitely could be. Interesting SmackDown. One of the best that we've had yet since we've been doing this. So definitely glad that we were able to break it down. And I'm glad that you guys tuned in here to the SmackDown review. We definitely want to thank you for making the show part of your weekly routine. Hopefully you will continue to do so. Getting into SummerSlam, we're into July already, so summer's flying by. We'll be there before you know it. Not necessarily complaining. I got an Atlanta trip booked in September, so excited for that. Nonetheless, hope you guys all have a damn good weekend. However, John, you good?
I'm good, man.
Any shout outs?
Shout outs to Patreons, Discord members, everything like that, per usual. Shout out to Football Function, doing your thing over there. And that's about it, man. I can't really think about anything else. Yeah, let's just have a good weekend. Maybe some softball. Maybe if you get you out there.
We'll see. I got to work tomorrow, man. Come on.
I already did all the spraying, man.
Just got to do a little bit. Not a lot.
But yeah, man, I'm good right there.
All right, bud. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like we said, have a damn good weekend. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.